Fun name after all, so we're just going to call them that. aXe, as you see they're tagged up as perhaps a different name. Anyways, whatever they are, they're facing off against Shrek here, and at the very least looking forward to a good best of the three. With that said, of course, joined by Minnie here. Minnie, how's it going?
Hey man, yeah, I'm doing good. I'm looking forward to this series as well. Obviously, we saw Ogre on Thursday. Unfortunately, did fall to Nullstone. But I wouldn't call this. I mean, I definitely think Ogre are definitely probably the favourites in this matchup. But Rama Rocket have shown a lot of promise as well, and there are some great players on the team. So this is definitely going to be still a close game for Ogre.
Yeah, Ogre, of course, again, coming off against that match against Nullstone on Thursday. That was an interesting one, man. I mean, that was definitely a series that ultimately went 3 games, of course. We were stressing for at least the first half of that series. I mean, Shrek was really dominant in the first game.
Yeah,
even early on for a good chunk of the second game. They were looking good, almost like they would sweep Nullstone Gaming. But then Nullstone, they won a couple of finals, eventually won the second game, and, of course, took the series in the end, 2-1. But, yeah, Shrek, no doubt, they're looking to maybe get some revenge in that sense of ultimately continuing on here. So, again, if we have to give favors, probably would be them, but on the other side of the spectrum here, RMR, now their team, as again, I'm kind of pulling them up here as far as their history, had a lot of Gold Division matches. They did taper it a Diamond here and there, but for the most part, from my understanding, we're that Gold Division team, but again, still a team that definitely to reckon with and going to bring it their all, I'm sure. So, again, this is the loser's bracket after all. You lose here, you officially are done in Haunt Tour Season 3. You win, there's still a chance to move on. Now, real quickly, too, before we get too much into this one, the other semifinal matchup, guys, here in Group B, or more so loses bracket round one matchup. Apologize for that. Anyways, Frog No Hippo versus Team Who. They are actually going to be casted over on twitch.tv/SaintRocks. He's doing the casting over there for them. They were going to be delayed about 20 to 30 minutes, though. So in the next 10 to 15 minutes here, they should be getting started. But again, that matchup, if you're interested in that one, get some dual streaming even going on. You can check that out over there. But back to this one. All right, let's start talking about what is going on here. In fact, already almost finished with the second tier of bans. So let's look a little bit closer here. Behemoth, Warbeast, Swiftblade, and Dr. Repulsor were the initial bans. We had Ophelia, Kraken, and Rhapsody picked up on Shrek. And then Glacius, Bubbles, and Solstice over here on aXe. So interesting starts. They go the Solstice jungle route here on the side of Melbourne.
Well, I mean, just going over Ogre's draft, there's something that I don't think they have played too much. Obviously, they pick up the Ophelia, Kraken, Rhapsody, the kind of the tri-core of sort of team fight and push back in the last couple of months. They do pick up Tremble with it as well, actually, so a slight different twist on the usual 3-core sort of team fight and push lineup. But for aXe, though, it looks like they're most likely looking to try and peak a little bit later than Ogre, with the more late game oriented sort of jungler in Solstice. I'm assuming they'll pick up another hard carry here for Imba Pengu and then just try and almost outlast Ogre until like maybe the 40-50 minute mark, just from knowing their team quite well. But the triple pickup though here from Ogre, that does put a slight curveball. But there's the carry I was talking about for Imba Pengu.
Yeah, Clanks, he represents that carry role pretty well, definitely. So we'll see how Imba Pengu is able to play it here. I'm sure just fine. But yeah, seeing that Tremble pickup, though, with the 4th pick after not only the first set of bans, but the second set of bans. Not often it would make it to that point, but clearly aXe over here not overly concerned about the hero. Again, he's one of those kind of heroes, though, in the right hands. And again, a couple names on the scene definitely ring about KZ specifically that he will just take over and destroy games. So you got to be a little bit careful who you give it to. So
yeah,
clearly they're comfortable giving
Nox,
it to them, though.
Yeah, I don't know if Nox is a big Tremble player, though. I mean, don't get me wrong, he's a great carry player. But when I think of Tremble, I don't instantly think of Nox. I don't know what you think, Breaky.
Well, it's a very active carry. Well, I guess it has the ability to be active. Yeah, and the idea of micromanaging that Boris, of course, sending him to other lanes, getting the mounds down, making sure you're always keeping the other team guessing if you're going to be setting up a gank with that Boris, possibly even a mount gank, is definitely what makes a Tremble player ultimately. So yeah, I think you're right. I mean, he's different style like Gary Nox, aka Horsebell, of course, who we're talking about here. He has a lot of history of being a very strong farming carry player. Will he be good on Tremble here? That maybe that's what aXe is thinking. They're like, you know what, we're not confident that Nox is going to really be able to destroy us with that hero, so we're just fine giving it to him. The final pick, Pebbles, by the way.
Yeah, and I'm assuming this is going to be either a mid or suicide here, because Bubbles could be played on either one. I'm assuming it's going to be another core that can somewhat scale decently into the late game as well. Because Ogre, their sort of draft and their sort of strategy is almost sort of settled already now. They're looking to obviously get the early portal key on Pebbles, and then start taking down towers at around like the 20-minute mark. Whereas for aXe, they don't really have the ability to do that because obviously they've got Clanks and Solstice who are looking to take it late, and so they might want to continue with that strategy as well. Interesting to note though is that Solstice is actually one of those few heroes actually in Hon that is very, very good at. I mean, there's a lot of heroes that can defend well against pushes, but Solstice is more in terms of setting up. Like, because when Ogre are going to start grouping up and start taking those team fights, Solstice, if he can land a good ulti by sort of sticking behind trees, can do a lot of work. Honestly, many a time where I've seen teams sort of group up as 5, start taking down towers, and Solstice lands a big ulti and just turns the team fight instantly. So he's a good sort of team fire when the enemy team is pushing. So I might see that in play today.
Yeah, and it definitely has that presence to be able to catch you off guard and definitely turn the fight. So if you're Ogre over here, definitely want to keep that in mind, of course. Prisoner going to be the final pick in the end. Definitely makes sense. Definitely could use the middle presence, and Prisoner fits that pretty well. Obviously brings especially to the table, and matched up against a hero like Pebbles. Pebbles with that very low armor, especially earlier on in the game. We'll see if they're able to take advantage of that, but that's how they'll finish here. And, overall, pretty active team of potential to be. Of course, Clank's going to usually want to sit back and farm quite a bit in the beginning, but eventually becomes very active with that mobility in that Hawk of his. So, overall, I mean, if you had to maybe give it one way or the other on the draft, is there one way you're leaning, or is it pretty even, you think?
I think it is pretty even. I think I'll probably give it out to Ogre. I guess it all depends on the strategy as well, because either team can take this in terms of strategy. I think for ease of execution, though, Ogre definitely has it easier, because, I mean, all they've got to do is obviously run the dual mid with Pebbles and Rhapsody. You get the early portal key on Pebbles. As long as Kraken gets decent farm in the off lane and Treble does well in his own lane as well, they just group up and push. And aXe don't really have the ability to stop it. I mean, they have decent defense in terms of like the hooks from Prisoner, like I said, the Solstice before, but in terms of an even raw sort of 5-on-5 team fight, they're going to lose out. Clanks needs a lot of farm to be used to in team fights, so does sort of the Solstice and Prisoner to an extent as well. So I think Ogre probably have the advantage in the draft, but I mean, aXe, as long as they play this well, they need to make sure to keep on split pushing lanes and make sure they don't fight until they're ready to, and that's around like the 30-minute mark. And it's up to Ogre, can they force a big enough advantage before aXe start hitting their timings in terms of peak of performance.
Absolutely. So definitely, I think it's safe to say Nox again on that Tremble. How well is he going to play it? How active is he going to be with that Boris pet here especially is going to determine a lot in terms of where this game may be headed for one way or the other. But I'm going to pause here to start things off, of course. So, again, the other matchup, you can check over at St. Rock's stream if you like. But our later match today, and as usual, definitely a pretty good one, Reason Gaming versus Nullstone Gaming, and that's going to be fun right there. Arguably the top two teams, well, according to the seeds, they're the top two teams, especially here in Group B. They end up being matched up, as we said. Nullstone struggled a little bit against Shrek. Ultimately came through, though. That's what matters. Reason Gaming continuing to look hot. They defeated Team Who 2-0. That will be best of 3 later today. The winner of that is going to the Final Four with the number 1 seed. They'll be playing Willowkeeper. The loser bumped down to that loser's bracket final, and we'll have to play one more match to see if they continue to move on or not. You see, again, you look at the number 1 and 2 seeds. Obviously, yes, in the end, just advancing on is what really matters. So the losing team there, not necessarily the end of the world, because no matter what, you're going to have to face a tough opponent, let's be honest. Yeah. Fresh and Willowkeeper, both very quality teams. Really, I don't think it's the kind of one way or the other. It's like, hey, we get to face who we face. At least just making it to that stage is what matters. That's and true. You'd rather just guarantee that with that win there. So
that is true. I think confidence does play a factor, though, particularly in playoffs and tournaments like this, because with such a high pressure and for something that's so big on the lifeline kind of thing, on the line, confidence does play a big role in sort of tournaments like this. So obviously if you can get off to a good start, secure those wins, and it will definitely help. But like you said, you're going to have to beat everyone you face. So it doesn't matter if you're in the lower bracket or not, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. That Final Four, man, holy crap, I still can't wait for that. That's going to be, of course, next weekend on the Saturday. It'll be both of these semifinal matches, just straight single elimination at that point, a best out of 3 in the semifinals, and then into the Sunday event of a best out of 5. Winner takes all. Winner goes to Thailand with Seek Esports representing our region, and that's going to be fun, man.
There's no like one team gets like one up.
No, absolutely not. No, it is just straight up best of 5. And yeah, it's not often we get that because with the format of Haunter, it's usually that 1-0 advantage, and understandably. But yeah, in that case, it's a single elimination, so there is no reason to have the advantage. So better for the spectators, definitely, as well. So. All right, how are we seeing things laning so far? It looks like they had Rhapsody up here initially, but just for scouting purposes, if anything.
She'll be definitely mid. She has to sit mid with Pebbles. Makes the most amount of sense as well. Solstice is still somewhat of an aggressive jungler, so it'd be a little bit risky for him to go up there. They do have a good dual lane though here with the Prisoner plus Glacier. So I think that is slightly in favour of aXe or Rama Rocket than Pebbles Raps anyway, just because of the hook factor. It's always got to be in favour of that. It lands one lucky hook on the Rapsy. I'm pretty sure she's going to die, for example. So yeah, aXe. I mean, the biggest thing whenever you play against this lineup here from Ogre, like it's something that Zinc would play a lot of. To be fair, maybe they'd swap out Tremble for something more early game oriented, maybe like a Corrupted Disciple or whatever it may be. But it's still the same sort of backbone of the draft. Whenever you play against sort of team fight and push style of strategy that looking to sort of get active and take down towers around 20-minute mark, you have to have a good laning phase. If you get a good laning phase, then you can really slow them down and slow down the snowball push here from Ogre. And I think they have the ability to do this though. Like I said, the dual mid is versus the dual mid. If mid can do well, slow down that portal key from Pebbles, aXe definitely have the ability to take this late and to take the win, honestly. It's only bad when they start losing kills here and there, and then they start losing towers, and they can't team fight because they're behind.
Absolutely.
So that's the main strategy here for aXe. Particularly when it's the mid game as well. I don't think they're going to be able to take team fights unless they have like strong head on probably the Prisoner, Clanks, and Solstice. If they can get that, then they're looking pretty strong. But that's going to depend on a lot of sort of split pushing as well. I mean, it's hard though, because you'd want to split push because their team fight is stronger, but then you have the ability to win team fights as long as you can land those skill shots, like the Solstice, ulti, full channeled, and obviously the hooks from Prisoner as well. So it's going to come down to play, as almost every game is at the end of the day. But
that's a good thing. That's a good thing. All right, so he has reconnected right here. I'll see if we get the resume here shortly. Real quickly, again, while we are still on the pause here, in case you missed the announcement, guys, happened yesterday on Friday. Han Tour Casters announced for the World Finals. That is, of course, in Thailand at the end of the month. Obviously, we have myself and Minnie, of course.
Of course.
It wouldn't be an event without us, let's be honest. No, so we're going, of course. But the other two, a little more interesting, definitely. Beef, at the same time, not too surprising with all of he does and whatnot, a great caster himself. But look at that name right there, Swindle Melons. Sure enough, is also going to be there as a caster. That should really bring some very interesting insight to the table. And that was exciting when we found out that he was going to be able to go to the World Finals as a caster, a different perspective. So, looking forward to that.
He's going to show me up, Reiki. I'm kind of a little bit salty about that.
I mean, he has a lot of experience, it's safe to say. He has some pretty good insight, but
it's fine.
You bring your own great insight as well. And you have a really cool accent, so he does not have that.
That's the one benefit I've got going into this, really. But
that is true.
Nonetheless, though, game is back underway.
It is. Here we go. So, in the middle, of course, Pebbles Rhapsody versus the Glacius Prisoner, as we're talking about right there. So, it's a matter of gets a good hook in here or not. In fact, there's a freeze. Oof, yeah, I can tell. They were ready just in case, but that freeze sets up a hook very, very nicely in the end. So, wouldn't be surprised to see one landing here in the near future and a possible kill to follow. So, they got to be pretty careful if you're that Pebbles Rhapsody combination.
Yeah, I mean, an interesting thing about this matchup though is that I think until like level 3 and level 4 is when this Hellborn lineup is actually a little bit more superior. But like after that, the burst from Pebbles becomes a little bit too strong. So even if he does get hooked in, Pebbles is going to turn around and most likely get a kill on Prisoner. So if they can secure a kill like before level 5, I think Prisoner and this Glacier Lane should do fine. But other than that, if they can't get that, then they might be in a little bit of trouble just because of the burst from Pebbles and Rhapsody.
Yeah. Match previews up, by the way, guys, also for this series here. RMR versus Shrek, of course, if you wanted to check it out. It's on Hauntour.com. Great articles, once again, written by Blaze. Oh, it's actually on the other series, but still, it's a good article nonetheless. No, it's on both. What am I saying? No, wait, what? Oh, it's just team highlights of a couple of teams. Anyways, the point being, it's cool. Back to this game, though. So yeah, the bottom lane Tremble, you look at what he's doing against Bubbles right here, boxing him out with those auto attacks as he can, of course, and making sure to not let him just free farm or get some comfortable farm at least. And so far, 10-5 now, Tremble versus a 7-1 Bubbles. Here at the bottom lane, of course, you always have to be worrying about that Ophelia on top of that. And of her presence. Middle lane, Pebbles actually going in right here with the stun. Doesn't have enough mana for the Chuck just yet, though. And in the end, Prisoner will be fine. So I don't know if Pebbles thought he might have had a little more mana than that, but just wasn't enough.
I think they just saw the Rhapsody haste and was like, let's try and pressure, for example.
Yeah. Able to survive as a result of that, so... Of course, Solstice jungle. Solstice definitely an interesting jungler. Again, did get a slight nerf to that charge of his, and the idea of him being active earlier on in the game out of that jungle, a little less prevalent as a result of that, but still, the potential's there.
What's interesting with Solstice, like before his gank presence was kind of dramatically reduced, but in this case, if they can land a hook like this, he can rotate over actually, which he's doing.
But Pebbles like, you know what, I'm going to go to Glacius right here. Has that note, still doesn't have mana from the Dark, has it now, but in the meantime his teammate gets picked off in Rhapsody. Now Pebbles is able to finish off Glacius. It might come at a cost, though. A hook's going to be coming out right here. Not much room for him to work with as a result of that area. Solstice puts in some more auto attacks. There's the charge coming out. Will this be enough? He needs to hero block him somewhat. Vagabond Leader comes in. If that was a Minotaur or something else, maybe, but Vagabond Leader, not too much it could do. And in the end, down goes Pebbles. So safe to say, very good exchange in favor of aXe right there in the end.
Really nice play as well, knowing exactly their timings. I said, if they can get a kill before level 5, then they'd be perfect, and they just did that as well. So Pebbles, with the death to his name, only 270 GPM, going to slowly reduce the his chance to get in a portal key early on. And he's only level 3 as well, which can definitely play an impact. If they can shut down this Pebbles, then they can shut down this whole strategy. He is probably the key hero in this strategy. Gets an early portal key, and they can start taking team fights and taking down towers because of that initiation factor. But without the portal key from Pebbles, and they are going to be a little bit behind in terms of their game plan.
Bottom lane, Tremble, again, putting some good pressure on Bubbles. Like I said, not too surprising there. And it does have the level advantage for the time being as well. Nox currently, again, 24-9 now, 13-1 Bubbles. Here on the other side of the spectrum now. You compare that to the top lane, how that's going up there. 25-4 Clanks versus a 19-0 Kraken, excuse me there. So slightly better for the Legion team overall. But not the worst scenario.
I mean, this matchup between Bubbles and Tremble, we actually saw it in the game with Tree versus... Oh, I don't think it was Tree. It was definitely Fresh. Remember, it was Probus versus a Bubbles player. And actually, it was Bubbles was leading that matchup for the first level, probably first 5 levels, but then after that he started losing control to the Tremble, and that is what you expect normally. But in this game, though, Telltale just hasn't been able to really pressure Nox in the lane. Nox is dominating this lane, 330 GPM compared to 202. Now, with that being said, obviously he had to deal with the Ophelia, but,
Right there. Oh, actually top lane. Kraken goes down. Look at Clanks and how low he was. I was watching the middle action. Pebbles found himself in a tough spot. He ultimately does survive, though. But, yeah, that top lane, clearly something else was going on. As Kraken not able to do enough damage to get the kill himself. And Clank stays alive. And, of course, I'm sure help from Solstice. Pebbles now. He goes in right here onto Glacius, looking for the kill. Will get it this time around.
And that's the burst damage. I was warning at level 5. He gets to level 5 and he just bursts anyone down. In that case, it was the Glacius, but it could have been the Prisoner as well. So, I guess they were just a little bit underestimating the potential of Pebbles when he hits level 5, and just like that, he gets level 5, gets the kill.
Kraken now level 6, has that release the Kraken to work with here, and a little unfortunate he didn't have that, of course, and it was a very close kill encounter with Clanks previously. Ooh, bottom. Wow, that courier taking some good damage, but in the end, one auto attack away from death. And we'll stay alive unless Bubble snipes it. Oh, man, if he ported it in. I don't think he knew how close he actually was to actually killing that courier if he ported in right there, but decided it was not worth it.
He probably would have died, though, to be fair. Ophelia was flanking him from the left, and Tremble was on his right, so he probably would have died. Oh, Tremble, Boris, middle lane, actually.
Yeah, here we go. So there's that micro we're talking about. Boris is here. Now, Freeze used onto it again. That just shows you the priority. It's like, we need to stop that Boris. Pebbles, though, he doesn't care about the crowd control. He goes in right here. Rhapsody again assisting. Prisoner, though, barely alive. Does a hook. Hooks in Rhapsody right there. He gets him falling, though, as a result of that. Now, they will kill Rhapsody and Pebbles in the end. Maybe they wouldn't have killed Rhapsody, but yeah, that hook up pretty much bit him in the ass when it was all said and done. Right there.
That was actually I wouldn't say it was a misplay, but I think it's more miscommunication from both Nox and Mike Marcus there. Mike Marcus run to the side of Prisoner to try and get the toss damage onto Prisoner. Instead, he tossed Boris, and Prisoner was able to stay alive, gets the hook off onto Rapsy and the ulti, and then in the end, both of them die. So just that one misplay just turns into a chain of events that costs 2 heroes' deaths instead of 1.
Yeah. So that 2-for-1 exchange right there at the top lane. Clanks, again, you see the activity of Boris all the way to the top lane here and trying to apply some pressure to Clanks. But now Release the Kraken was actually used right there. So again, I don't know if that was just poor placement or if he was still able to get away ultimately from it. But he doesn't have that cooldown anymore, whatever the case is, and didn't get a kill out of it. It's a little unfortunate right there. But clearly Nox, though, you know, again, that question was there of how active was he going to be, and we already are seeing a bit of that. Both lanes have had his involvement. Unfortunately, in the big picture, though, it just hasn't been working out fully yet to their favor. Bottom lane, Solstice ports down here. Tremble might be in a little bit of trouble if he keeps pushing, which he's not going to be doing. Either he got a heads up. Is there a ward? Oh, wow, yeah, the ward aside.
Yeah.
There's exactly the reason. There you go.
I have to admit, though, Play Chris actually playing middle lane Pebbles.
We're going to see some initiation. We are, once again, Prisoner taking some good damage off the bat. Minotaur starting to follow the Pebbles initiation, and down falls Prisoner. Kelfield, it didn't even matter. It came there, pretty good timing, but it was just simply too late in the end. Good roam coming out from Ophelia, of course, and even Boris joins the party. Better late than never. Oh, top lane again. Clank's taking some good pressure, but just not enough when it's all said and done right there.
Ooh,
Rhapsody, you're in trouble. Shell Surf, no, he does not go for the damage with the Shell Surf. Uh-oh. If they're not going to get the skill at all, okay, wow, he ultis right there to try to get, oh my god, he missed the auto attack. He hit Pebbles on accident, and Rhapsody's firing for now the hook. No, they're chucking there to stop, and the hook's going to miss, and Rhapsody will survive. Oh, that is so big right there. The misclick on the auto attack. And again, Bubbles not Shell Surfing aggressively when he died anyways.
Yep.
2 reasons.
I agree. He just panicked there. He just panicked, trying to shell himself back instead of securing the kill. Instead, Rhapsody survives and he dies anyway. I have to admit, like, oh, top lane actually.
Look at that, Boris. Boris and Kraken coming together, man. And the double damage Kraken. I will say, Nox, he's been pretty impressive so far.
Yeah,
with this
definitely.
Boris.
I mean, Nox, from what we've seen of him, he was playing very impressive. But I didn't really realise his hero pool was this wide as well. Really playing nice on the Tremble as well. But just going back to the Bubbles though, like, I mean, he wasn't too impressive in lane, and then a couple of misplays like that. It's just it's quite frustrating for Mbapengu and aXe here on this team for sure.
Yeah. Look at Solstice up there on the GPM chart, though, nearly 400 gold per minute now. I know Solstice is kind of an interesting jungler. There's no, like, set idea as far as what you usually want to go for. I feel like we see varies, you know, from a Sanitarius to even an Alchemist Bones first item to others. I mean, he actually is going to go to the top lane on a Kraken, but Kraken's going to be fine, and that'll be that. But what do you think here?
I mean, like you said, bro, there's a lot of different varying builds. Something that Slapbut's do a lot actually is pick up the portal key on Solstice. I don't think we're going to see the portal key in this game though, because they've got initiation from both Bubbles and Prisoner. And seeing as, assuming they're going to try and take this late with the draft they've gone for, I think just trying to secure the late game with buying items that will scale well into the late game, like in Sanitarius, like even the Elder Parasite, for example, or even the Dawnbringer would be a good pickup here.
Well, he's pulling up quite a bit of gold, so get some answer on that here in the near future. Speaking of him, too, portion of the bottom line, but again, this Ward of Sight is just MVP right here. I mean, you see it's like just out of tower range at this where this placement is, so Nox even the one that ended up placing it, as you can see. I doubt he bought it, of course, but does place it right there, and it's saved his life now a couple times.
Yeah.
We mentioned that earlier, so that Ward definitely MVP once again. Earlier. Look at the gold difference, it's 0. It was 0 there for a couple of seconds. That's when you know we got a pretty even game on our hands. 11 minutes in right now. Obviously a 6-5 hero kill lead in favor of Legion team. And by the way, Nox, he is going for the Thunderclaw route. Does have the Warp Cleft, of course, picked up. Not too surprising, though. It seems like that's the first item of choice for a lot of Trembles lately.
It's just core on the hero. It's almost like portal key on Pebbles. You just have to go it. He just synergizes so nice with the hero. It gives him a farming ability or farming mechanism. So it's really nice item. I'm assuming he might go into Strong Ned because Ogre, obviously, with the draft they've got, looking to get aggressive and looking to take team fights. So I'd assume Strong Ned afterwards. Bottom lane, though, Tremble might be in trouble.
He is definitely in a little bit of trouble. They're trailing up Solstice Ultimate. Is it in range?
Oh.
No, it's not. And Tremble will be fine. That Lunar Judgment was just out of range right there, and now the net on Iglesias from the Skeleton King. The follow-up, no chance for him to get away. Bubbles is like, I got a little bit of damage, but that's it. Had a Kelphiel, but yeah, it really wouldn't have mattered there in the end. Middle lane, nice dodge on the hook right there by Pebbles. Although we might have been fine in the long run, but yeah, that is a downside of Solstice. It takes a while to channel it up, at least. And now you could just use it right away, as we saw earlier, to try to get a quick kill, just for the fear effect at nighttime, at least, especially. But right there, trying to channel it up, go for the big ulti. Unfortunately, just out of range in the end.
Yeah. And I mean, I can understand why they're trying to shut down the Tremble, but if they're looking to shut down someone in this draft, it's got to be the Pebbles, because he is the one that revolves the strategy so much around him. Like, he picks up Portal Key, and they'll start taking down the tier 1 tower mid, the tier 2 tower bottom, for example, as well. Kraken top lane.
Oh, he's going to go for the kill on Iglesias. All of a sudden, Prisoner comes out with the inventory. Might at least get the kill. Iglesias. Boris is here. He couldn't get there in time, though. Iglesias will stay alive. And down falls Kraken. Good rune control coming out right there. That was an Invis Prisoner. Came all the way to the top lane with, and now he has the Illusion Rune that he had bottled up. He's going to pop that and help push this top tower here. As a result, you do see some counter push to the bottom lane, though. Going to go for that here.
Yeah, so they're taking the tier 1 tower bottom. It's the easiest one to take down, and aXe are going to trade as they should be doing this whole game. Honestly, they need to be making effective trades because they just simply can't team fight. They were doing okay in the laning phase, but a couple of good pick-offs from Noct here and there have really secured an okay laning phase for Ogre.
Yeah.
And if aXe want to have a good start, they need to make sure that they're actually ahead in the laning phase, because otherwise the snowball will start happening in the next 5 minutes, perhaps, when Pebbles picks up its Portal Key. And that's why I would have liked to see him try to shut down this Pebble just a little bit more, because that's the item where Ogre say, look, that's their green light kind of thing, Breaky. When they get that, that's when they start looking to get aggressive and look to start taking down towers.
Ophelia, of course, Ring of Sorcery, and that's really it. So, her start hasn't been the best necessarily, but, not too shabby either. You mentioned that Portal Key, though, again. Yeah, that's the cue to make things happen, no doubt. Also, getting one on Kraken will be the big follow-up there, as he has another 800 gold saved up himself. Probably going to be next in line. Pebbles middle lane. He does land the stun. Pretty much at maximum range right there. Triple Skeleton King army right here on the Prisoner, trying to lock him down long enough, but it's not enough. And in fact, the response here for the Hellboy team, and all of a sudden Pebbles does fall. Rhapsody ported it in, but it's not going to matter. Ophelia also goes down. She did not have her ultimate, so thus could not use it right there. But look at that response from aXe. All 5 players end up joining the party, and now they're going to push this middle tower even.
Yep, just good rotations from aXe as well, and that reduces, or that slows down Pebbles' Portal Key even further. He was like 1800 gold, and normally particularly when an item of this magnitude is that important, normally we see sort of the mids rotate over into the Ancients. It's triple stacked already. He could have secured his Portal Key with that. Instead, tries to go for a risky play, and it backfires, Breaky.
Pretty greedy build here from Mima Pingu. Now he goes to Sustainer for the eventual Nullstone, but instead of finishing the Nullstone, he actually decides to now build a Thunderclaw first before that. So he continues to be very squishy here on this hero in Clanks, but boy is his damage going to be pretty intense at this point.
It is risky, but I think it's actually the way to go, because like I said, they don't want to be taking team fights anyway, so although Nullstone, or even though the Thunderclaw is very risky, he's not looking to take team fights anyway. He's looking to keep on farming and try and take this late. It's all a split push, because if you think about it, they don't want to take team fights at all because they don't have the items and they don't have their peak effectiveness just ready just yet. So looking to keep on farming and keep it and delay the game as much as possible practically.
Yeah. And you already see his GPM skyrocketing, well, not skyrocketing necessarily, but jumping up a little bit right here. 423 gold per minute. Top lane, Kraken's going to be fine. Solstice using that new portal key of his. Obviously, we were talking about that earlier, and you mentioned you didn't necessarily think we were going to possibly see that route, but he does go it in the end. This time around, at least.
It's not bad because Bubbles is having a bad time in lane, so he's going to get his portal key quite delayed. And also, the thing about portal keys is that every one you get after the initial one you get on your team is significantly better because you have that follow-up. So it's like Bubbles jumps in, so does Solstice, and then so does Prisoner. Like, having them conjointly together, it's almost... it just makes it a lot better. Middle lane, Prisoner.
They're going to jump right here on a Prisoner. Remember, last time they did this at Backfire. This time they get the quick kill. They had more numbers here, including Kraken, with that release of Kraken to secure the very quick kill on him. Going to be pushing the middle tower now on top of that. Of course, going to capitalize with what they have going right here. So This middle tower is going to fall in just a matter of seconds, and that will be their third tower kill of the game. All initial towers have been destroyed in favor of the Legion team. Only one tower kill so far on the side of aXe, and Shrek may actually keep this going at least a little bit. Yeah, they're going to start falling back now. It looks like don't want to. Well, almost undecisive here. Is what it seems like of what they want to do next, but they see the top lane kind of being pushed in a little bit, so that's when they'll start making their way over to. But Clanks, he's fallen back by now, and he is currently in the jungle, but he did just run right past a ward of sight. Oh boy, okay, yeah, he ports out just in time. If they had a portal key closer, then that could have been a dead Clanks. And the top tower, though, goes down with no heroes nearby, so that's favorable for aXe right there. Getting some extra gold. Look at this ward of sight placed at the bottom lane by Glacius, by the way. Getting all the way down here and managing to place that. And he's even still hanging around. Getting some very aggressive vision out.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the ward vision right now, they're looking to try and find a pick-off, because if they can find a pick-off, then it's going to delay the push from Ogre, for example. So a lot of these aggressive wards trying to find people when they're farming the jungle one by one, for example. You get a rotation from Solstice plus Bubbles and maybe like a prisoner, for example. They're going to be able to secure that kill, and that's another minute of no push from Ogre. So, like this. It's exactly what I'm talking about.
Yep, going to catch them right there.
Really nice play, so that at least delays the push from Ogre by... Oh, actually, Pebbles jumps in.
Get something, at least.
It's still good, though, because obviously now Ogre, they can't really sort of go all in looking for like a push, for example. So they're going to push out top, but they won't be able to pressure the tier 2, because aXe will be able to rotate over, because obviously the Tremble was a lot more important than the Glacius in this engagement. So.
Yeah. You do see the Tremble's GPM of 460, and even a little bit higher than that, starting to go down now a little bit because of that pickoff right there. I assume he purchased something, right? There's got to be something that Tremble had bought. He's had those items now for a little bit, I feel, so we'll see what is delivered to him eventually, but yeah, slowing that down. Of course, Kraken with his own portal key now. We're starting to see a lot of that being picked up. In fact, 5 in total, 2 on the Legion team, and 3 on the Hellborn team already.
Yeah, I mean, just going back to the point about the portal key, so it's like the opposite of diminishing returns with a portal key on your team. Like, if one pick, like, it's like if you view it as like values, like one portal key is value 10, for example, and then if someone else picks a portal key, your portal key is like value 11, just because of the follow-up ability with portal key. It's each successive one just becomes a little bit stronger, because your ally's got one as well.
Ophelia has managed to. Well, okay, at least get some decent items. Again, our GPM not the prettiest still, but not necessarily looking for some crazy farming. Ophelia, what's that?
Storm Spirit on Solstice.
On Solstice? Really? That's he's going heavy utility here.
Yeah, which I think in most cases is actually okay. But in the game where he needs to be the sort of second carry to Clanks, because they're looking to try and take this at a little bit of a later peak than Ogre. Obviously, Ogre are looking to sort of try and take team fights, straight down towers, looking for advantage. And aXe is going to hopefully try and take this late, because they have the heroes to do so. But when Solstice picks up like the Portal Key and then the Storm Spirit, his late game scaling ability isn't actually that strong, honestly. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a strong item. It will help, any initiation from the Pebbles, for example, or say the Clanks, for example. But I really think he needs to become a right-click threat if they want to actually secure the late game. But I guess we'll have to see how it works out, really.
Yeah. Yeah,
it's going to be good in team fights, though. That's the one big thing. Like in team fights, it's going to be quite useful because it's going to nullify Pebbles' sort of jump potential on any one of aXe. But yeah.
Yeah, no, it's that's definitely the idea. And again, it's not saying it's a bad item pickup. It just goes back to, is that the best? Oh, actually, at the top lane, though, he might need to use it right here if he can. He's going to be locked down too long, though. And down goes Solstice. Obviously, all 5 being there understandable. He wasn't able to get anything off, and even with it, though, it would just delay the inevitable. But yeah, he got pushed up a little bit too far. He had no clue that Ogre was still hanging around up here. They were hanging around here for a while, to be fair. And the patience does persevere, so getting that item and then dying shortly after, also unfortunate. But yeah, it definitely just goes back to, is that the best choice for the circumstances? Because their damage now not necessarily going to be as high as it could have been because of that option there. So Clanks, we'll have a no-stone finish though soon.
Yeah, that's going to be useful, but I think Clanks will still need a stronger Ned before they can start taking team fights. Like I said, the item build from Solstice is good if they want to take team fights, but that's just not the strategy here from aXe. Or I don't think it should be anyway, because they have Clanks with under 900 HP. Like, it's going to die to a Pebbles combo literally by himself. And the thing about Storm's through is it's good, obviously, because you can stop any sort of jumps or any kind of combos from the other team. But like Pebbles' combo is done in like a second practically, and I just don't think Solstice is going to be able to have that kind of reaction time to sort of save Clanks from a Pebbles combo. I really don't think he will, but
yeah,
he might be able to. Who knows?
Glacius living life on the edge up here. He's near the only one so far. He does have Solstice kind of in the background. But if they suspect that he is here, then he's in a lot of trouble. There we go. In fact, Pebbles jumps him. It's almost as if they knew he was there all along. But here we go. The counter net play now. Condition break comes out, stops the protectability immediately. As a result of the hook right there, looks like Rhapsody is going to fall. Solstice doing what he can in the background. Pebbles gets picked off. On top of that, so definitely so far aXe well in favor of that 2-for-1 exchange. The rest are going to start falling back, however, including Tremble, as he goes another direction. His teammates, though, they are still in a lot of trouble. In fact, Ophelia needs to port back Kraken. He's not going to, though, and now Kraken goes in, but he misses the charge! And all of a sudden, he's in a really horrible spot. He goes down. They were very indecisive right there. Tremble,
Yeah, they really were.
He left very early on.
Exactly. Like, the initiation was just a little bit almost YOLO. Like, they just went straight in on the Glacius. The Glacius died instantly, but it doesn't really matter, to be honest, because it's only a Glacius. And then Prisoner got a good hook off, and so did Solstice, because all the team sort of try to back up the Pebbles. And when they do that, they overcommit. And then, obviously, the Prisoner and Solstice got a lot of work done. And Tremble, honestly, was a little bit late to the fights. And when he did get there, he backed up straight away because he thought the team fight was going bad, which it was. But then Ogre try and salvage the team fight with Kraken manning up, but it just makes it even worse, honestly. So a little bit of bad coordination, but aXe, they capitalized again.
Yeah. And I'm looking at this Clanks now. 4,200 gold saved up. Again, I would assume we're going to see a Null Stone into an Energizer here being finished. He even got the Soul Scream Ring a little bit later on after the items that he currently has. So a little bit curious about that too. But yeah, again, I assume that's what that's going to turn into. Maybe just feeling like you want to have a little more extra stats. Again, win a very aggressive, squishy build here earlier in this game. But now he's level 16. The farm is definitely paying off here. Bubbles, actually, he's looking for a kill possibly. He placed a Ward of Rev to block the Ancient stacks right here. Currently is I believe, a double stack. Yeah, it's a double stack Ancient right there. We'll see if they're able to maybe even steal it or if the Legion team eventually takes it out. But going to be blocked from future spawns unless they take care of that Rev Ward for the time being. But yeah, back to Solstice as well. Again, with the Storm Spear route. So far, it's working out pretty well. Now another 1,500 gold saved up. Again, especially now going the Source, you figure it's almost going to continue that trend. I would assume of maybe even going something like a Sheepstick now, yeah.
Yeah. Sheepstick would be good though, because obviously the Portal Key Sheepstick combo is just insanely useful in terms of initiation, instant Portal Key into a Hex. We'll have ways of dealing with the Tremble then as well, because if they can get it off before the Shogun and obviously before the Dark Swarm, they're most likely going to secure a kill on him. And I don't see why not, because if he's gone these two items, yeah, like you said, it seems strange why he would just change up his sort of item build. So it's still good, and I guess with Clanks having good farm as well, I guess Clanks, they're going to go almost all in on Clanks becoming their right-click threat, and Prisoner can sort of scale it well into the late game as well. That's what I was talking about the draft. I was looking for them to pick up a scaling mid, which they did with Prisoner, so I guess it's not too bad, and they're doing fun in these team fights as well, and if they're winning these team fights now, then it's only going to get better from now on as well, honestly, so yeah, I think aXe are in a really good position. It's Ogre now that need to make the plays.
You know, it is... Oh, yeah, okay, they are behind. For some reason, I thought that they were ahead in gold experience, but no, that is the minus right there. So it is very slight, though. It's not like aXe has a far superior lead when it comes to those stats, but again, that's...
They should be ahead, though. This is their time where they're almost the most in the most peak kind of thing. They're the strongest in terms of all their draft, because the only person that's going to scale, I mean, I guess Kraken and Pebbles and as well as Tremble do scale quite well, I guess. But you compare that to sort of Clank, Solstice, and Prisoner. I think it's going to be the Tremble that's only one going to really almost contest the likes of aXe in the late game.
The Impalers of Tremble are no doubt a very scary item to face off against in a later game stage, and again, that's what helps make Thunderclaw a great item, and it definitely gives them a good amount of carry potential into that late game phase. But definitely, I think it goes back to what you said at the beginning of the game, the draft. Just simply a game that, well, just going to come down to play, going to come down to initiation, and that's really going to be the ultimate thing here, which is, of course, a good thing to look forward to. Now, again, Clank says there's a Brutalized pickup, by the way, speaking of the Impalers and the power of them, so Trumbo going to have that. Wow, so he went Firebrand, Thunderclaw, and now into a Brutalizer here. That's kind of interesting. Yeah, that is a full Brutalizer. I was just double-checking that, but sure enough it is, and now 520 gold per minute, I guess that makes sense. far as what he's able to get. But yeah, back to Clank. So again, he's still sitting on the Soul Scream. He never even finished the Energizer, actually. He's going to have about 3,100 gold saved up.
Yeah.
I feel like an Energizer actually could be decent for him here. He went the Steam Boots, of course, so it's not like he'd be doubling up on phase effects or by any means. So it almost seems like it's just why not, but...
I think it's because he's had such a good start that he's like, oh, I want to go all in, sort of kind of greedy build. Like he was going to pick up an Energizer. He probably had in mind picking up an Energizer first, but instead he was like, actually, I think he bought it just before a big team fight, won the big team fight, and now he's got all this gold. He's like, actually, I'm going to try and finish off some more luxurious items, for example.
Yeah. We'll see what that luxury comes down to. You know, obviously could go either more the defensive of Shrunken or.
Yeah, I mean,
more aggressive route.
I'm just thinking actually, like Shrunken Head is kind of like the no-brainer kind of item pickup. But if you think about it actually a little bit more logically, Shrunken Head isn't going to do too much for him this game though, because outside of the Pebbles combo, like, what does Shrunken Head really do? Like obviously you got the Raps EQ, but Kraken is practically all physical, or at least superior magic in terms of his ultimate. Treble obviously a lot of physical, and Ophelia doesn't really do too much work with in terms of magic damage either. So.
That's fair.
Like he's gonna, and also like if he picks up a Shrunken Head, he's gonna, like he's pretty still gonna get jumped from Pebbles. He probably won't be able to pop his Shrunken Head before he gets jumped, and he's got the Storm Spirit from Solstice as well. So, like going back, I don't think you should actually pick up a Shrunken Head. Like I think he should still build tanky because it is still squishy. So I'm thinking towards maybe the Frostful Skull instead actually. And I think even the Shrunken Head on Prisoner might... I mean, I think Shrunken Head actually on Prisoner is okay, because he's going to be jumping in, and obviously he doesn't get comboed from Prisoner, but for Clanks, he's going to be sitting in the background, and he's got the Storm Spirit Solstice to sort of back him up. So, yeah, I'm changing my decision break here. I think Frostful Skull would make a little bit more sense, to be fair.
Yeah, just going the tankier route instead. It could be the better option. Of course, there is that kind of mix of something like a Wingbow possibly, too, and it tends to be a pretty big item on him, so...
It'd still be very squishy though, is the one issue with Wingbow.
Yeah.
Like, I think Wingbow is going to be very useful against Tremble, but I think that the predominant amount of damage at the moment is going to be like the Pebbles and Kraken, sorry. So, Frost will do a bit more work than the Wingbow as of right now anyway.
Yeah. Top lane, you see there... What's up with this Ophelia player? He has a lot of triple armies at the same... yeah. Minion. Earlier he had the triple Skeleton King, now he's a triple Catman here, I guess. Takes what he can get in the end, so. But happens to be the case here with the triple Catman, hard-hitting heroes, or more so neutrals. Taken advantage of, and they're trying to find something at the top lane, but again, you look at the mini-map, no one up here from aXe. And I wouldn't be surprised if they let this tower fall at this rate. In fact, especially if they can get a kill on something like this Tremble, who right now is by himself. Solstice nearby. Tremble's kind of chasing around a little bit. Going to go middle, but I don't think he realizes how much trouble he might be in here shortly if they insist on falling. No, they're not going to, though. They're actually playing it very scared. It seems like they got a couple of heroes squads pushing the bottom lane, including Clanks. They do push it in. They did lose the top secondary, and it looks like Ogre has the queue to also start falling back themselves. We're coming up to 30 minutes right here. Still no even Kongor attempt at this point. Now, as I say that, you of course have our Hellborn team in the vicinity here, and Ward of Sights in the area. There's a double damage rune as well, so this actually could be a pretty decent time to try to be a little crafty here, but so far it doesn't seem like either team going to be taken up on that offer. Collapse on the middle lane. Kraken almost as if he wants to look to jump right here. He is going to go. The charge does connect on a Prisoner Solstice nearby, but Shark and Egg goes up. There's that Storm Spirit, though, we're talking about. But Prisoner, as soon as he comes down, it's just no follow-up to be had.
Whoa,
as far as support. Now, Glacius, all of a sudden, to get the chuck off, he does. And Glacius, he just complete went Tarzan mode right there, and for some reason, he just kind of ran into death. So very, very iffy jump right there, or movement even, and now Shrek, they're going to push another tower in the process. Yep.
I mean, to be honest, that was just a little bit Prisoner going a little bit YOLO, to be fair. They didn't have any vision of where they were at the time. He dies, they lose their tower. Glacius just thought he'd give himself up as well just because he wanted to die. But it's not too bad though. As long as as long as aXe can defend high ground, that's all they're looking to do, honestly. They're going to be losing Kongor here though, which is a little bit of a worry. And that all goes back to that one pickup on Prisoner. But if as long as they can defend high ground, that's all they're looking to do.
Yeah. It looks like, by the way, Ice Brand is picked up on Clanks. There we go with the jump. Did he steal it? He did!
Oh, he did.
He actually got the steal. He's going to die now. Can he get out? He doesn't have a shell surf. I don't think he's going to be able to. Maybe buy time. No. So he is going to die in the end. And so it is that case, like, sure, he did steal it. It's still worth it, you think?
Yeah, definitely, because if they lose token there, then Ogre have a great way of sieging the base. They just give it on Tremble. He can just right-click the tower, and they don't have the greatest counter-push, honestly, without committing too much here on the side of Ride My Rocket. So I do like the play, although he did die. Definitely worth it. They lost their T2 because of it, but they were going to lose it anyway if they had token. But now he's got buyback as well. He just uses buyback and it's going to be fine. And Ogre will have to back off if Bubbles uses buyback right now.
Clanks did decide to go full in on, or all in more so on the Frost of Skull here. Of course, he doesn't have any money for a buyback as a result of that, but feeling he wants to be that tanky presence somewhat of also dishing out some good damage, and it will be enough of a queue for Shrek to start falling back. They don't even have to force the buyback, which is actually pretty big. For the Cellborn team. So yeah, I think that right there in itself makes it even that much better. Now, if you had to buy back, you can maybe question a little bit still, but yeah, with not having to buy back, it's like, well, yeah, they just prevented a token alive from happening over these next 4 or 5 minutes. And
yeah, really good.
It's pretty good news.
It's just because if they had token on Tremble, like all he does is right-click the tower, back off a little bit, right-click the tower again, and it's going to do a lot of chip damage onto the tower, and eventually they're going to lose that tower, and aXe are going to have to commit onto Tremble. Like, without that token of life now, at least they don't have. They're dodging that fight because of that token still. So really nice play from Toltec there. He was being a little bit underwhelming in terms of performance, but that was a nice play.
Mm-hmm. Talking about earlier with Solstice, again, he even with the Abyssal Skull to follow up the Storm Spirit. So yeah, really prioritized that Storm Spirit very early on. Got the Abyssal Skull, and now he has, the Soul's Bulwark here. So again, just really sticking to his guns of being really a utility hero for this Hellborn team. And as far as his damage presence goes, it's not the most as a result of his item choices. But hey, he is bringing some good auras, of course, to the table and still being very effective for the team. Which is how we decided. But, that also does go back, though. Now, especially with Clanks deciding to go more the tankier choice with the Frost of Skull, again, their damage output really isn't as much as it honestly should be, I feel like, with the heroes that they have. And, scaling into that later game stage, is that going to be a concern here?
I think it definitely might be. I think scaling into the late game it won't be, because Clanks is going to have the strong right-click potential. But in the next team fight, it might be, honestly. Particularly if Ogre start looking to go high ground, even without the token. If I can pick off this even bigger prisoner, that would have been bad.
He was sitting on a warded site, and of course the Creeper had there for the longest time. And it seems like they had a couple seconds to definitely go for the open. I almost wonder if they thought that might have been bait, though. But again, with the warded site, you figure that they would have had that information, but they just simply choose not to go in. Pebbles, he might find Clanks. This could be big. More so, Clanks might find him. There's a stun happening. Now, the Null Stone, not much you can do about that. And he realizes that right away. So, no follow-up, really, to be had as a result of that. Another 1,500 gold on Clank. So, again, go on the Frost of Skull. It's not going to necessarily rapidly increase that GPM of his.
Solstice finds Rhapsody.
Needed in a sense. Solstice does find Rhapsody. There's the Storm Spirit aggressively to kind of slow her down as sticking to those staccato stuns. Now they're charging 5 seconds. Prisoner misses the hook. Rhapsody, he's getting a lot out of this. Does fall in the end, but they had to use a lot to kill him. And I think, not too disappointed at the end.
Yeah, I think if Ogre took a team fight straight there and then, it might have been a little bit too overextension. But it's still fun, though. Kelfer's going to be up in the next 80 seconds, and Rhapsody's up in 40 seconds. So I don't think they're going to have enough time to really push it in, as long as they push out waves. Like, they need to push out bottom, I think.
We got Tremble's gold, man. 6,100 gold here. He's not afraid to save up and buy something large. And yes, I have a history, I know, of having that little bit of a pet peeve of mine. Is actually middle lane, jump on the Pebbles. No follow-up, though. Just simply kind of feeling out testing the waters, seeing if they get any counter jump. But especially with him sitting on both a Firebrand and a Thunderclaw, items that can be upgraded and probably will be eventually. It's just like, why are you sitting on this much gold?
I agree with you totally, bro.
He does go right-click of a Wingbow, though, in the end.
I mean, the one thing, like, what people sometimes pull up gold for example, is in the case of Nox, for example. Like, obviously, he wants to have a buyback, but also he wants to have a TP slot. All of his item slots sort of taken up. But in that case, he didn't even have a TP on him, so he could have easily had like the at least the amulet of evasion or whatever kind of thing. But
yeah,
he's got Wingbow now. Doesn't really matter. So.
Snake bracelet.
That's what it is.
Yeah, and this is interesting too. You know, wing bow honestly not an item we see a lot on melee agility, melee heroes in general. Picked up here by Treble, but so again, remember, obviously with range it increases the range by 100. With melee, it gives them the damage back, almost like counterattack like a Swiftblade has. I believe it's what 25%. Yeah, deal 25% of its damage to the attacker. So that's something that could actually be pretty good against his Clanks, especially hurting him in return. So. Going to be almost like a barbed armor to an extent, so you got to be a little careful about that. And the return damage you're taking from it. Now, I wonder if Clanks is going to pick up on that and decide to go something like a Savage Mace here, instead of, say, a Wingbow himself.
I think he's going to go Savage just because he'll go Wingo as well, but I think just before the Wingo, he'll pick up Savage because, like, Tremble is really the only big threat in the team fights now of Ogre. Obviously, Kraken and Pebbles do a bit of damage, but they're more ready to set up for the Tremble now. So, as long as they can burst him down, and they're going to be fine. And not only that, Storm Spirit is still here on Solstice, so they have ways of sort of defending the Clanks, for example. So, the evasion isn't the biggest of deals.
Oh, we'll see. 32 more 100 gold saved up, so. We'll see what item choice good old Imba Pingu decides to go for here. 2,800 gold on Solstice. Are we finding something?
Oh my God.
Tremble was right next to him.
This reaction seems so slow.
Yeah.
Like he bumped into him and he's like 4 or 5 times.
Like hugging each other.
Yeah.
Walking side by side. But in the end, Bubbles gets away. Of course, he does that. Being pretty slippery. Top lane, Veiled Rod. I want to say this is our first Veiled Rod we've seen this game. At least that I've noticed. Glacius using it up here at the top lane, trying to set up some counterplay. Something. Oh my God! What a juke from Solstice! And talk about reactions. Wow.
Let's try and set up though. No, Glacius should definitely set up. Like he'll die, but he'll be worthwhile.
He doesn't have a portal key though, or anything like that.
He backs up like what? Like the play he needs to make right there is literally go into Pebbles and Tremble, die, but that would give the rest of your team like 4 or 5 seconds to sort of back him up and get the secure kill on either the Tremble or Bubble or Pebbles there, but. Because neither of them had TPs.
Yeah, true. Sometimes
it's risky though, because obviously they have shrunk. Like they could have killed him, shrunk it in, and just run away.
Then, it's definitely
that's the one risky thing. But I think it might be useful.
Yeah. Well, that's awkward. Homecoming Stone even dropped from that, but was it a courier again this later on? It's actually they already had another one, so I wonder if it was simply for scouting purposes. And we're starting to see that a little bit more in here and there using those couriers.
I really hope we see it so much tunneling because that actually mechanic is actually broken.
Teams are waiting for talent to really bust that out. We're going to see like 10 couriers a game. That's going to happen. 4,000 gold nearly saved up on Clank. So again, ideally we'll have that information soon of what he may be looking to get here. But this continues to be a pretty back and forth, somewhat of an even game. 14-14 hero kills. Glacius living life on the edge. And we'll actually port out before he gets caught here at the top side. You see Tremble. Tremble's porting somewhere. Looks like all the way to the bottom. Wow, look at that mound down here at the bottom lane. In fact, they jump right onto Clanks, but he was too far away, was Tremble. Now Tremble's in a little bit of trouble himself. Prison Break comes out. That's physical, of course, and returns around. Look at that damage on a prisoner. But here comes Clanks. He's going to be heavily slowed, even through the Shrunken. Release the Kraken. It will catch Clanks. That forces him to kind of run more so. Then actually put out some damage there. Tremble, Kelpfield comes out, doesn't have that Shrunken Head anymore. They're still going in. Pebbles jumps in though. Tremble's falling, however, and Tremble does go down. When it's all said and done, and Clanks is now sitting in the background. The Goon Squad is up, and he's putting in the right clicks. Pebbles will fall. Bubbles is still alive, and down goes Kraken. A 3-for-0 exchange. That fight went on for a while. And they insisted on trying to really commit for that kill. Tremble, unfortunately, just not the best positioning there.
Yeah, and I think I would say maybe it's even a little bit unlucky there from Ogre because all of aXe were right next to that, waiting and ready for that kind of play. And Clanks just having that Hawk ability able to sort of get out of harm's way, and then the follow-up from aXe, and they just get a secure kill. And the rest of Ogre were nowhere near, honestly. So, but no, just really nice play from Ogre, from aXe, and they're going to secure a tier 2 tower now as well. They might even try and pressure to force out a buyback that, from Pebbles, for example.
Yeah.
Might be enough.
Got a sheepstick on a prisoner on top of that, so definitely a very encouraging fight overall for aXe right here. Now, hopefully for their sake, though, Solstice, he does get caught out somewhat by the minions. Look at that turn damage though from Clank. Clank showing off again. He doesn't necessarily have the most damage because of his item build, but he will force it to kind of fall back. However, they too have to fall back. Don't want to overstay their welcome with Tremble and Kraken just about coming out with
back.
Pebbles already getting up. Did he buy back to do that? Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
So
forced the buyback.
they did force the one buyback, the only one so far this game. And there's finally some damage coming out from Clanks. Gets the straight savage.
You actually saw, like, when Tremble popped his strong head, like,
Yeah.
Clanks was literally hitting him for a wet fish, so needs some actual right-click potential, which he's now got. He'll go the wing bow after that as well, and then he'll decide whether he wants the Thunder Claw or just another sort of damage item instead. But Ogre, yeah, I think honestly Ogre might be in a little bit of trouble right now though, because I think they've missed their timing. Obviously Tremble and the whole side of Ogre still do a lot of work in team fights, but obviously they missed their timing and trying to really force high ground, for example, and now aXe are getting further and further into the lead in terms of their late game items. Obviously Savage Mace, Sheepstick, as well as Demonic Breast, like all great late game places.
Kraken is going for the kill, starts on a Glacius, and I almost want to say that hurt him than helped him, because
it really
he
did.
throws him to run away, and then Solstice's like, I got you. No, wait a second. That's what can make that item a little bit awkward sometimes. Glacius bought back immediately, by the way. Not the biggest deal in the world, of course. It is just a Glacius, so. But they decide to fall back themselves. They're more interested in Conqueror, is safe to say. And look at how fast they double damage Tremble. Holy crap. Bubbles, where's he at? He's nearby. We know what happened last time. Here we go. Can he ninja it once again? No, this time he's just too late, and Tremble will easily pick it up in the end. Is Glacius dead? Well, probably. This will be the second death for him in a matter of a minute right here. Pebbles gets hooked in, but yeah, you can see aXe is not ready as a team to fight, especially with that token right here. And now here comes the push.
This is going to be really hard to defend right now. 4v5. They're going to have to use a lot of buybacks, which I don't think they have. Clanks doesn't have a buyback, neither does Prisoner. This is really close. They have to defend, though.
Yeah. Not much of a choice. Pebbles jumps into the back arrow. At least Kraken does come out. Clanks, he's taking some good damage. Can't do much to get away. He's just trying to run the whole time. That's not going to work, though. At that point, honestly, you might as well just turn and fight. Do the best you can. He falls. He does not have a buyback, and that could be the game right there. Yeah. Just like that. Shrek is now in a very good spot to at least push in the middle. Probably more with Clanks and Prisoner both dead.
Yeah, that might even be game though. Like, Solstice was channeling the ulti, but Clanks got gone on. Like, you have to cut your ulti short and just Storm Spirit him, because otherwise things like that happen, particularly if he's not got a buyback breaky, and they're going to lose 2 sets of racks now, and, like, I don't want to criticise Platty Chris too much, because he's had a good game, but if you have a Storm Spirit, you have to be using it to defend, like, initiations like that. Like, Clanks got jumped on by both Kraken and Pebbles, and he just was there to die, like... Again, sure, maybe a hindsight deal, but I really think they also have nobody but themselves to blame here on aXe. And going back to just the item builds, and I don't know if it's just they weren't communicating as a team, but when you have two heroes that potentially can put out some really good damage in Solstice and Clanks, and you're building both of them in a very defensive utility manner, what do you expect? I mean, you're not going to have the damage, and I think that showed for most of this game. And he finally got the Savage Mace, and he didn't get to use it because it just got locked down to the point where he died, sure enough. So it's nobody but themselves to blame, and hopefully learning from that. Particularly if they don't use the items they've got. Like, if Solstice instantly portal keys Storm Spirits there, that might even be enough to try and turn the fight. But instead tries to get a full channel ultimate that did absolutely nothing, because Shrunken Heads were popped by everyone on the side of Ogre. So yeah, a slight misplay, and it cost him heavily breaking.
Kraken up here. He's got the Invis rune. He's just gonna wait nearby. Is it just Mirror Seed gold?
Yeah, he's gold.
Is an Invis hero ever gold?
He's orange though, no? I think
orangey, goldy. I don't know. He's different. Kraken's different here. He's not gonna find the opening though. So in the end, he'll just waddle back to the top lane and join the rest of his team. But obviously Shrek, they got the middle, they got the bottom, and now they're just going to put their focus here on the top lane. Not going to force the issue, at least that's the idea, of course, with what they have going for them. Just simply play it pretty safe here, keep the pressure on aXe, and force them to constantly play defensive at this point. Again, I mean, Clanks, he does have that Savage Mace. He's going to buy a TP here to make sure that he can get back if need be. Honestly, he needs to make sure to try to sell that Thunderclaw if he thinks he's about to die, because still at this rate, I don't think he has enough for a buyback. I mean, he has enough now, but with the gold he would lose. I don't know if it'd be enough, but here we go. Prisoner jumps in. Trouble goes right for Clank, though. And look at the lockdown with the brutalizer in the back. Protect the melody. It's going to be stopped immediately. A lot of Shuriken's are up, but look at Clanks. He just can't do a damn thing. He's just getting sat on by Trouble. He does barely get away with the Hawk, but he's done 0 damage this fight once again. He may survive. He looks like he will in the end, and he does force him to dive quite a bit. Meanwhile, in the background, Solstice, he's being locked down by the Sakata stuns. Ophelia does fall. But now Solstice in trouble himself. Pebbles overstepping his boundaries. He ultimately gets picked off as a result of that. So they dove a little too far. Clanks, the fact that he barely did survive, maybe they're saving grace right here. And they do get the turn kill now on Rhapsody. Tremble, he still has a token, remember, for another minute. He goes right on a bubble. He's dealing so much damage. Nothing he can do about that. Hatcher coming out. We're going to see a quad kill most likely as Clanks will fall as well. Right there. He did sell the Thunderclaw, by the way. He does have the buyback. And they go on to Treble right now, but again, he has the token, so sure, they're going to kill him. But he's going to come right back up and look to do more damage. Maybe not. He's actually trying to run. I don't know if that's your best choice, to be honest. He's going to be heavily slowed by that Frostal Skull, and yeah, I honestly think he should have just fought right there, or at least attempted. But and long story short, he does die still. Now, of course, the middle and the bottom lane do get heavily pushed in. That's the benefit that you get of the melee Rex being killed, especially in both of those lanes. They do hold, though, when it's all said and done on those axe, at least for the time being. So a little bit of fight left in them, apparently.
Definitely. It was the right play to make from Clank, so I said in that Thunderclaw, because if they didn't have a buyback, they're going to lose mega creeps there. So at least a decent play from Imbapengu there. The one annoying thing, though, is that now they've sold the Thunderclaw, they don't have the most effective way of actually clearing out these creep waves mid and bottom, which is a little bit frustrating, but still not the biggest of deals.
Yeah.
But that Tremble, man, does so much damage. Jeez, like so much damage. That they're like just sat on Clanks the whole fight and just wasn't able to let him sit back in the back and just dish out a lot of his damage. Like that's kind of the sort of thing that Clanks does. He just sits in the background and can dish out a lot of damage. But if he's sort of going toe to toe, particularly with a Tremble, he's not winning that man-to-man fight. So nice play from Nox. Nox has been playing phenomenally, actually. Not just this game, but just the whole series from what I've seen with him already. Yeah,
no, again, yesterday, or not yesterday, what was it, on Thursday, I guess, against Nullstone Gammon, we were complimenting his play as well in that series. And it seems like we haven't called his name for a while here. I know he took a little bit of a break for most of the season, but joined later on with these guys, and clearly has found a pretty solid home with them, and he didn't lose much of that skill that we remember him having as far as being a carry player.
I guess you never lose it, Break. Once you've got it, you don't lose it, kind of thing. Particularly at this caliber of play. But
I could come back and win a Han match anytime I want, so I don't like to take wins away from other players.
You're so nice, Break.
6,000 gold saved up on Tremble right here. He's obviously got the store pretty much open to him as far as what he wants to go for.
Will be the pickup for Tremble. It was really nice because obviously the true strike attack can still be procced by the Impalers, and not only that, but Clanks, if it does get to that point, Clanks will eventually go for a wing bow, so he has to play preemptively in terms of his item choice there.
Just taking a look, seeing if we got information on the other series again. The other series, Who versus Frog No Hippo, did get started a little bit later. I believe this would be game number 1 right here. That we're chiming into again. Saint Rocks, he is casting it over there on his stream, twitch.tv/Saint Rocks, if you are interested. We got this matchup. Hey, Clanks in this one as well. Picked up by Frog No Hippo, actually. And they also got the curse that they're running over there. That's what kind of stands out to me, at least so far, though. Seems like it's a pretty even game, actually, just from 13-13 hero kills. And back and forth battle there. Maybe a slight lead for Frog, actually, against Team Who, but
no, Frog Not Hippo is actually like the coolest team ever. I was casting the gold finals with Saint Rocks the other day, and it's actually pretty funny, actually. They're a cool bunch of guys, I think actually one of their players is the Rhapsody, actually, in this game. It's actually a girl, but she's actually really, really good, actually. I had no idea. I was coming out really well, and then someone said, "Oh yeah, she's a girl," but I was like, well, I'm really impressive. Like, I'm not trying to be ratio stereotype, but
no, of course, that's
really impressive. Like normally, like girls aren't that great.
Oh, Minnie! Oh, you're opening Pandora's box right here. Oh boy!
But she was really good.
Oh boy! Oh yeah, that's cool to hear. Definitely getting some representation for the female.
And they play loads of different crazy. Like I think the game we cast, they played like Bramble and like Blood Hunter. It was pretty sick, actually. The games I saw them play. So shout out to those guys.
Yeah, and hey, right now again they have the they're looking good there, at least in the first game. So in that best out of 3, again the winner of that series will actually play the winner of this series, and if that happens, that would be played tomorrow and possibly covered here on Honcast, or that will be covered on Honcast. So whichever two teams do make it, that's the point right there. So maybe we'll get to check them out tomorrow if they advance on against Team Who. So looks like they're getting over a little bit of a lag hump right there, and resume back on with what is game number 1. Overall, just again, you continue to look at the numbers, and this is the biggest lead that one team has had, but still in itself really not overwhelming. But again, of course, there's a lot more to the game than just those numbers there, including both the middle and the bottom lane of racks being destroyed in favor of the Legion team at this point from Shrek. So they know that they pretty much have this one in the bag, pending some serious mistakes by them, which we have seen many times before. And the idea of throwing is definitely still there, so hopefully for the sake of Shrek that doesn't happen. But
Sagittarius picked up from Solstice, actually.
Yeah,
a little bit too little, too late to
Yeah.
break, maybe, but I still like the way he's building towards. But if you got ready the portal key and Storm Spirit, then he could be having like Savage Mace of his own kind of now, and that could be enough to really cut through. Because like with the 3 Shrunken Heads now up on Ogre, like aXe just don't seem to do enough damage. Like Clanks, as I've talked about before, it predominantly does a lot of magic damage as well. So Shrunken Heads actually do a lot of work here. And the one hero that is meant to be doing a lot of physical right click is it's got a little bit too much utility in my opinion. But it might be enough though to try and cut them through. There's the working on Wingbow from Clanks, the Dancing Blade. Oh, he just sold it again. He wants to have buyback. He wants to have buyback. That's the biggest thing.
well, he should buy the Snake Bracelet then, because I still think he would have the
Definitely.
buyback if he does that.
He
So
definitely should. Yeah.
we'll see if he picks up on that or not. But yeah, hey, just having that evasion at least. Now, as you say that, of course, again, the Savage Mace is being worked on by Tremble. But even if he does get it, I mean, there's still reason to have the evasion for other heroes, especially if you are planning to go anyway. So he does go the Dancing Blade, though, and again, that too is fine, honestly. It's just that'll give him even a little bit more damage, and that's been the one thing that we have been criticizing here, if any. Now, that does mean he will not have a buyback, so that is, of course, the obvious downside here. And boy, he needs to be really careful with what he's doing. I mean, I know he's not seen right now, but if you're Shrek, I mean, you're going to check this area, right? You're not just going to, like, run in here and just think that no one's there.
Like Ogre actually have like really great ways of actually clearing out trees with the terraform mounds from Tremble, so he has to be careful.
Yeah. Cliff right there. Causing some issues. But this is a strategy, though. You got the middle and bottom cleared out. Just let the creeps do their job. Double damage on the Tremble, by the way. The Sheepstick initiation, they want to make this happen for Melody. It will mitigate a little bit of damage initially, but it stopped pretty quickly. Hook comes in. That physical presence kicking in. In the background, Solstice goes in, actually. And Clanks is able to dish out some decent damage on the side, but Tremble, once again, he's doing too much. He's just going for mega creeps. He doesn't even care about Clanks, who's flying around in the background. Sheepstick comes out on a Clanks, by the way, by Kraken. But now Tremble seems like he might be interested, as Clanks is doing some good damage, but look at all of a sudden, as soon as Tremble gets on him, Clanks just starts falling so quickly. GG's being killed, another quad kill. And that will officially do it. Shrek is going to take game number 1 here in this best out of 3 against Armar.
Yeah, just Ogre just a little bit too strong, and after they were down two racks, it was all over practically. So, but yeah, it's crazy though how just one bad team fight can just almost ruin a game practically. Like, I thought aXe were looking in a good position. They won the last team fight, but then I think Prisoner got picked off. Then they lose the T2 mid. Then they lose Kongor. Then one bad team fight where Souls doesn't use the Storm Spirit and Clanks doesn't have a buyback, and they lose 2 racks, and the game's already over practically from that point. So a little bit unfortunate there. There was a little bit of criticism on the Solstice item build. Like, I mean, just going back to the Storm Spirit on the Solstice, like with the item on Solstice, it's almost a little bit counter synergy, because when everyone jumps in and tries to go the initiation on your team, that's when you as a Solstice wants to get a good pure light or lunar judgment, the ulti. But if you've got a Storm Spirit, then you have to be the person jumping in to sort of have the counter initiation, and you can't do both things, as we saw in that last team fight, or not the last one, but the more important one. And didn't get the Storm Spirit off, and got a bad ulti off anyway because the Stronger Head's already popped. And when that big of misplays that occur, then you're going to lose the team fights and you're going to lose the game, unfortunately. But Ogre played very, very good though. Stuck through it, even though I think they were on the back foot most of that game, honestly. The laning phase was quite good from aXe and near the mid game as well, but stuck through it. And Nox just, man, that guy.
Yeah.
Every single